India is a land of diverse cultures, traditions and practices that have evolved over thousands of years, leaving an enduring mark on its cultural heritage. This has given birth to various art forms enriching and influencing the Indian subcontinent. The 20th century saw modern and contemporary Indian art thriving and contributing globally through various art movements. An institution in India is working to bring visibility to modern and contemporary art from India and to foster a museum-going culture. This is Kiran Nadar Museum of Art, situated in the National Capital Region of India. The institution is a brainchild of Kiran Nadar, whose dedication to preserve Indian art and bring it to the larger audience gave birth to 2 museums in the region.
An individual who is an enigma in herself, of course, doesn't need a lot of an introduction, but someone, because there are so many aspects of her life that are so interesting that we will be talking about each one of them. So joining us here is Mrs Kiran Nadar. Ma'am, thank you very much for taking out your time. You're a philanthropist. You are an avid cricket fan, Wimbledon fan, international bridge player. But of course, what tops all of it is that you're an avid art collector and a lover, ma'am. Tell us about your journey, ma'am.
So this is a long journey. Yes, I am sort of quite multidimensional in my interests, but art is in a sense one of the last things that happened to me. I was collecting art for my home, and from there the passion grew, and I started getting interested in building up a collection, which this happened about 34 years ago. That's when I really started collecting. For the first few years it was for the home, then it went into Shiv's office, and from there on my art was going into storage. So at some point I decided that I should do something more meaningful, and that's how the idea of a museum started.
So ma'am, when we talk about envisioning art for all, what is the thought behind that, especially when it comes to someone who understands art but it's not really there for them to see, and the whole idea behind holding a private museum? This is something which is very different, very out of the box.
Yeah, it was a thought that the Indian art heritage is something that we all know about. I think most people know about Ajanta, Ellora, at least a lot of people do. Hampi, Khajuraho, there's so much history behind Indian art, and it's a shame that we weren't able to translate that into modern, contemporary and sort of pre-moderns like the Bengal school or Ravi Verma's or. So I just felt that the Indian audiences should be exposed to art as a whole, and that didn't just mean the sort of well-educated, but this should become something that everybody who lives in India should have an exposure to what Indian art has to offer. So, I mean, that was the thought of setting up a museum.
I think you would want that to be in the bucket list, especially of people who are visiting at least Delhi, that you have top 10 things to do, and one of them should be visiting KNMA, so which is Kiran Nadar Museum of Art. Tell us about that idea, ma'am.
Well, certainly as far as tourists are concerned, with regard to them, we definitely feel that the museum is definitely worth a visit, and it has a lot to offer, especially as far as Indian modern and contemporary art is concerned. And also now we are in the process of building a standalone museum, So there's a lot to do in the museum, and I really hope that we get the required number of footfalls, because that is the aim. It's a philanthropic institution. We don't have any finance generating schemes. That's not the aim. I've never sold a work of art in my life. So the aim is to expose people to art. And yes, visitors have gone up, our footfalls have increased, but I still think we have a long way to go.
I certainly had the privilege of going to the Saket KNMA, ma'am, and especially when it's a journey in itself that I took, especially when it comes to the photojournalist. The work has been put on display, and I recently came to know about that, the curator's mindset, its vision is actually put in place. What is that vision that you actually encourage, especially when it comes to few artists who are still searching or looking for a platform?
When we talk about, let's say, doing a curatorial show, currently we have a photography show of Raghu. I think Raghu is, in my experience, is probably the foremost Indian photographer who has worked for over 40 years. We are showing a collection of his that is spanning from 1966 to 2005. So that's the period we have, about 40 years. But that fact of those works, to curate them and show them so that people can understand. We have about 300 works on display, which the museum has acquired, so they are owned by us, and we are happy to show a retrospective of such a great artist, which most people probably see his books, but they don't really know how much he did. And to put that into perspective is very important. We have another exhibition which is called Mirror Maze, which is on at Noida. We have two museum spaces. So at the Noida Museum space, we have an exhibition called Mirror Maze. Mirror Maze is an exhibition of important works that I have collected personally for the museum, but which have never been shown before. So it shows about 15 or 18 artists. The works themselves are very important. So that exhibition to be seen as something important of different artists and how they are shown is something quite fascinating. I mean, even for me to see works that I had collected and never shown before was exciting. So those are the two exhibitions. I thought I'd tell you about the second one as well. But what I'd like to lay an emphasis on is the new museum space that we're going to open in about 3 years. It's going to be close to AeroCity on NH8, and it's going to be roughly 1 million plus square feet. So that is about 10 times the kind of space we have today. And that space is going to be a museum and a cultural center. Okay. Because the idea was both can feed on each other. The cultural space is akin to art, and art is akin to culture. So my thought was that if we build a space which has both art and culture, we can supplement both interests in people. So people who come in to see just the culture, theatre or music or dance, can also get interested in seeing art. So these two aspects getting joined and co-joined in a particular way is something that we thought would have a great synergy about it. We are doing a project at Venice, the Biennale in April, which is on Hussein. So it is a immersive film which has been done by the same people who did the Van Gogh immersive. And with that we are doing a small show of Hussein as well. So that's going to open in Venice on the 18th of April.
Thank you, ma'am, for speaking to us. And of course, I'm very intrigued and even more curious. I hope the work happens soon, because I did have the privilege of going to the Saket KNMA. And of course, I'm looking forward to also go to the HCL campus one. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
After the break, delve into the mind of the Chief Curator of KNMA as she takes us through the journey of current exhibitions.
Started looking at Raghu Rai's pictures, I got a sense that the picture frame is always dense, you know, and he is not somebody who is using the frame to take the photograph focusing only on the center. He is decentering the photograph, isn't it? He is seeing it as life. Life is going on. Some people are getting out of the frame, so they are half cut. Some are literally half there, half not there, as if life is going on. So he makes the edges very powerful and active. Okay, so I got very interested in the idea of this edge. So if you see whatever I've created here, no walls are straight. Most times people think curation is about hanging works on a wall. Okay. But I think it's so important because it is one of the most important and significant processes that a museum must imbibe and work with, especially because what we do in curation is a process, it's a responsibility. It's important to understand that there are many, many steps involved, and especially when you're curating an exhibition of an artist who is critically acclaimed, honored nationally, internationally recognized, and yet you want to bring something more to the audience. It's not that this is the first exhibition of an eminent photographer like Raghu Rai. Raghu Rai has had several exhibitions, he has made several books on his works. So what is it? You start thinking, your first question is, what is it that you want to bring to the audience? And my whole idea while meeting the artist and spending time with him, which is so important. You know, whenever you work with an artist who has a body of work that, you know, belongs to several decades, 50 years or so, 60 years, what do you do with this material?
In any space, if a lot is happening, but there has to be a foreground which has something extraordinary happening. And that attracts your eye and grabs into the space.
Space, yes, yes.
अगर वो नहीं है foreground में, तो then it becomes a general nice shot. But emotional part is very important.
That's what.
That it connects with your heart and you enter the space. This is how most of the pictures.
Because we all have grown up in India, we have seen India, and still not seen it fully. This is something that I learned while working on this project, that you have seen India perhaps as many of us have not seen it.
No, the reason is that एक सरसरी नजर होती है, just a quick glance, we almost get the feeling, हाँ ये है. पर जो मुझे वो एक glance में जो nudge मिलती है, I grab it. Then it becomes a powerful moment. आप being a non-photographer, being a curator or a sensitive human being, आप देखते हैं और चल देते हैं कि हाँ
नोटिस
किया सबकॉन्शियस में, लेकिन
to capture it.
have done 2 retros at the National Gallery of Modern Art. I have done retros at Arles Festival, in Museo di Capitolino, Rome, everywhere. But this has been, I'll say, the most wholesome, powerful photography exhibition for me, which brings out my various aspects of my interests, journeys and explorations, thanks to KNMA Museum, because they are the best in the country and they do it in the most professional way. Roobina ji is unbelievable. Days and days and weeks and months, have gone into it, including Devika Daulat Singh, who's my gallerist, and above all, Roobina, the curator. Also, I must say, Kiran ji, she looks very quiet and smiling. She'll come and sit down and just glance at things, and I'll wonder why she's sitting. And then gradually she'll get up and then go to each photograph one by one and questioning and trying to know exactly what energy, what expressions. So it's a combination of these ladies who've done a great job for me, and my friends and some of them who don't know me, artists, photographers, they say we are mesmerized by the show, so this is a good reflection.
It shows us a glimpse of our past and how far we have come forward and whatever we have achieved until now.
Right. I love seeing photography exhibits, and Raghu Rai is one of my heroes. And I met him 20 years ago in Delhi, and I've always loved his photography and wanted to show my family. I'm very impressed with the photographs and the exhibition, and I look forward to seeing all these hidden treasures.
I feel privileged कि मैं आई और मैंने ये सारी रेयर फोटोज़ जो शायद मुझे अभी तक देखने को नहीं मिली थी, दलाई लामा से लेके मदर टेरेसा, एंड देन इंदिरा गांधी की इतनी सुंदर पोर्ट्रेट्स, एंड देन कुछ दिल्ली, कैलकाटा, सबके जो डेली लाइफ के। रघु राय इज़ फेमस फॉर हिज कैप्चर, मोमेंट कैप्चर करने के लिए वो हमेशा रेंडम जो फोटोग्राफ्स उनके होते हैं वो भी बहुत अमेजिंग होते हैं। सो आई फील प्रिविलेज कि शायद मैं इस टाइम पे दिल्ली में थी और मैं रघु राय का शो देख पाई।
The exhibition at KNMA Noida called Mirror Maze brings together a constellation of varied artworks that initiate a rethinking about art and its presence in our lives. So the viewers would find that they would get to engage with not just paintings, but hyper-realities, presented through latest technology, through videos, through films. So very different kinds of forms of expression that artists have used have been brought together. The bigger idea was to look at what are these forms of practice, because these are artists who really engage themselves with not just what is known about the world, but they are very attracted to the idea of the mysterious, the idea of mystery, the idea of the unknown, the precariousness of life. How do we make sense of the self and our presence in the world? How do we make meaning out of it? And I think that was the larger idea for me, to start thinking of which artists can really be shown together in this group exhibition, because it's a thematic exhibition, very different from a single artist exhibition like Raghu Rai. It is a highly experiential exhibition. You have to experience it. You have to be in darkness. You have to be in light. You have to listen, because it's extrasensorial. There is sound, there is light, there is darkness, there is text.
I have been seen some paintings. One is from G.R. Irana, and which is using the how someone can see the clouds, and in that she used charcoal and something like that, and it is very like impactful to see. It's very relaxing to see.
किरण नाडर म्यूज़ियम ऑफ आर्ट में आके मुझे ये देखने को मिला कि यहाँ पे नई नई आर्ट्स को मुझे एक्सप्लोर भी करने को मिला। यहाँ पे बहुत सारा शांति और सुकून मिला उन आर्ट्स को देखकर। उनके बारे में नई नई चीज़ों को मैंने जाना कि वो क्या है, वो कैसे, वो उनके बारे में बताया गया है। और यहाँ पर एक और चीज़ मैं देखा कि अगर कोई व्यक्ति यहाँ पर स्ट्रेस्ड है थोड़ा, तो यहाँ पर आकर उनको पूरी तरह से शांति मिल जाती है, पूरी तरह से पीस फील करते हो यहाँ पर आकर। तो मैं लोगों को सजेस्ट भी करूँगा कि वो यहाँ पर आएँ, एक्सप्लोर करें, यहाँ के आर्ट्स को देखें।
The core of our existence is artists, their works, and how do we exhibit, how do we take the stories further, how do we open it out for people to research on, to read on, to engage with, and bring visibility and appreciation to what artists are doing. All that is related with one's life can be beautifully conveyed or communicated, to the audiences through exhibitions, through collaborations, through conversations, and that's what the museum intends to do and has been doing for the last 14 years.
Since its establishment in 2010, KNMA has been dedicated not only to curating exhibitions rigorously, but also to nurturing art appreciation and understanding among the younger generation through school programming, educational workshops, and cultural events across diverse socio-economic areas in Delhi NCR. Envisioning Art for All is not merely a founder's vision, but also her dream of fostering a culture of art appreciation throughout the country.